Welcome to the Rewatchers on the plot. Fuck. Welcome to Rewatchers on the Pod, where we are currently watching The Watchmen, parentheses HBO, parentheses 2019, and we watched episodes 6 and 7, which I'm about to give you more information on, but I had the wrong page up and I'm opening the wrong things.
Is it supposed to be spooky right now?
Yes, I'm...
Did you want to do co-host?
We're watching a show.
Happy New Year, everybody.
The car's off the rails. We're all gonna die. You're with me, Tyler Harris, and...
Gwen Hammer.
Tyler McKinley.
Justin Hammer.
Hey, we watched episodes 6 and 7. Episode 6 is called This Extraordinary Being, directed by Stephen Williams, written by Damon Lindelof and Cord Jefferson, and episode 7, An Almost Religious Awe, directed by David Semmel and written by Stacey Osai Kuffour.
Great job.
Thank you. And Claire Keachel. We know how I am with those I-E-E-I's. I'm definitely reading it wrong.
Infamous, yeah.
Here we go. I'm about to tell you everything that happened in these episodes. And if you don't trust me because of how the beginning of this episode has gone, that's not your fault at all. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Hooded Justice is interrogated by members of a government-sanctioned mob. They want him to show his face and use his collateral to cover up J. Edgar Hoover's gay love affair. He agrees, takes off his mask, reveals his very wide identity, then beats the shit out of them and says cheese. Angela's tripping hard balls while Lori gives her the rundown on what is happening to her. Angela Will's being accepted in the NYPD. A man pins his badge on him and tells him to beware of Cyclops. June interviews Will and tells him he's an angry, angry man, which he denies. Will hears piano music from Trust in the Law. Will witnesses a man burn down a Jewish deli and takes him down to the station. A white officer defends Will, then takes the criminal after flashing the Cyclops hand signal. Will learns about Superman from a newspaper man, then sees the criminal walking free. The officer working the desk tells him his memory is bad and that he should forget about the Cyclops hand signal he saw. Will walks home and turns down free drinks from his cop friends. Will remembers more horrors. He turns down an alley and his cop friends insist that he come with them. They beat him up, then they hang Will, Angela, and cut them down as a warning. Will walks home and is with a noose still around his neck, and Hooded Justice is born. Will admits that he is angry to June. Will explains the plot of Trust in the Law to June. She tells him that he needs to wear white makeup. Will and Angela will do anything to fight injustice. Hooded Justice watches the cops that hung him go into the back door of a drugstore. Hooded Justice beats up a bunch of KKK members who are so fucking into being into the KKK that they put on their robes to play fucking cards. You know, those real absolute pieces of shit. Will dives out the window to avoid getting shot, and time stops. Lori is there. She is talking to Angela and attempting to wake her up. Cal reads a statement telling Angela who she is and telling her to wake up. A man who definitely isn't Captain Metropolis shows up at Will and June's to discuss business on behalf of Captain Metropolis. He wants him to join a new Minutemen. Will isn't so sure, and then he accepts. Him and Captain Metropolis bang. Then Captain Metropolis makes sure Will understands that he never ever wants Will to be himself under any circumstances, and that he is the only person who will accept him. June is pregnant. Hooded Justice's plans are getting sidelined due to political bullshit. Will is a dad now. A movie theater looks like a war zone. It's a black theater. There are bodies everywhere. Will interviews a woman who explains the voice in her head was telling her to hurt people. Will is putting all the pieces together. Cyclops is using mind control to incite violence in the black community. He tells Captain Metropolis. Captain Metropolis gaslights him and refuses to help him. Will runs into the man who burned down the deli, finds out his warehouse is nearby, shoots him, and raids the warehouse where they are building the mind control projectors. He burns it to the ground and takes the projector with him. Will remembers the horrors of his past. Will tells the son he can't be like him. June tells him that they are going to Tulsa. Will won't go back. Old Will stops Jed Crawford and mind controls him out to the tree where he makes him hang himself. Angela seems to be losing a grip on all memory. Everything is happening at once. Everything is happening now. June saves her. Lady True is taking care of her. Documentary footage about John Osterman plays. A young Angela browses VHS imports in a Saigon video store and finds Sister Night, the nun with a motherfucking gun. Her parents will not let her watch it and tell her not to trust in people with masks. She goes to take the movie back and witnesses the bombing that kills her parents. She falls out of bed in the Millennium Clock where Lady True explains that this has happened a lot of times already. An educated educational video about taking other people's nostalgia plays. Angela assumes that she is connected by a tube to her grandfather. Red Scare and Pirate Jenny are waiting to arrest Angela. Cal comes to visit, but they won't let him in. Peavy finds the bodies of 7th Cavalry members in Looking Glass's bunker, but Looking Glass is nowhere to be found. Laurie is at the Crawfords. Laurie has accidentally stumbled to the very heart of the 7th Cavalry. Mrs. Crawford knocks her out. Lady True's daughter asks Angela questions for her dissertation and tells her she has memories of an old woman. Young Angela is in an orphanage and identifies the man behind the bombing, who was then presumably shot without ceremony. Angela wants to become a cop. Day 365 of Adrian Veidt's trial commences. Mrs. Crookshanks delivers her closing remarks. Veidt offers a rebuttal. Mr. Phillips condemns him on advice from a jury of his true peers. Angela confronts Lady True about her daughter, who really isn't really her daughter, but her mother, who she has cloned so that her parents can see her greatest achievement. Laurie Blake is tied up in some warehouse. Joe Keane tells her it is really hard to be a white man in America, so he wants to be blue. Lady True addresses some people. Angela attempts to confront her grandfather, only to find out that she is instead connected to an elephant. June comes to the orphanage to find young Angela. She takes her lunch and offers to let her watch Sister Night on a VCR in Tulsa, where they are from. Angela is happy. Then June dies of a heart attack just as they are about to leave. Angela is sad. Angela disconnects her elephant tube and rides the elevator to Dr. Manhattan's prayer room. Lady True tells her that she is going to save the world and that Dr. Manhattan is in Tulsa posing as a normal human being. Angela leaves and blasts through the world's worst police barricade. Cal is asleep and reading a foreshadowing novel. Angela is rummaging in the kitchen. She tells Cal how much she loves him and that he is her best friend, then reminds him this was part of the plan. She hits him with a hammer, pulls a metal Dr. Manhattan symbol out of his head. A blue glow shines on her face, and she tells John they are in a lot of fucking trouble. The Starman returns.
I called it that one girl was a clone.
You did.
I'm just saying. I did.
Yeah, working on her dissertation. Can't wait to hear all about it. Sure, it's great. Man, where do you guys want to start with this?
Can we just start with the clone girl?
Let's start with the clone girl.
She had cards that were deliberately not Rorschach cards.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like it was the same idea. What do you see? But they were not Rorschach cards.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
It was more like if you ever go to a bar with those like shitty TV screens, it's like the spot the difference pictures. It's like that, but they're not any differences, presumably. So it's
Highlights
the worst spot.
magazine.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. I'm working on this new entertainment for children for my dissertation. Her mom is very disappointed in her choice. Yeah, so that's fun. Lady True is insane.
She's such a great character. I don't know what to think about her. I don't understand her motivations.
She's my favorite thing that's been on TV in a while.
She's a great, interesting character that might be nefarious, but you want her to not be, but she's scary. She's fantastic.
And she is so the thing that I love about her too is that I feel like a lot of times when you have a character that's super smart, they're like, well, if they're super smart, they can do everything. So they don't know how to talk to girls, or they don't know how to talk to human beings, like whatever. But like, Lady True can talk to everyone, is in command of any room she is in, and like you're saying, it is confusing because she's kind of likable. Like when she's giving that speech, like just kind of in the background as Angela's wandering around, and she's just like, I bought MIT when I was 24, and you're like, man, this is kind of fucking inspiring. And you're like, and she's done some wild shit.
I'm going to be 32 this year.
That's the part that made
I haven't
me
done
feel
anything.
Icky.
Shit.
That was like the crazy billionaire vibes, like the evil Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's what. Because her true symbol is very similar to the Tesla symbol too, and I definitely saw that.
Well, I mean,
this looks like Tesla's symbol.
There's definitely some overlap there too, because it's like, solar, like trying to do renewable good energy, but it's like maybe the methods to get there, and who knows what the fuck the end game is.
She talks about launching a rocket too, doesn't she?
And Mars,
Yeah.
And those crates in the scary basement where the FBI lady had the True logo on them. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah. Creepy basement.
I didn't really think about
the JCPenney.
JCPenney,
the abandoned JCPenney.
Yeah.
That was a great line. I like that.
Yeah.
I guess, is there anything else we want to talk about True, or should we just move on to our favorite politician, Mr. Hard to Be White Joe?
I think with True, just real quick, I'm at this point now where I feel like Angela needs her, or like I want to find out. Like I'm sure we'll figure out what's happening because it's all building to the climax of what she's got planned with saving the world or whatever, saving fucking humanity or whatever the line is.
Yeah.
But I don't like having to feel like we're relying on this super wealthy person who's kind of insane. Like it's weird that that's where we are in the story right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want it to be billionaire saves the day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank you, generous billionaire.
But I kind of want to see what she's got
lives.
planned too.
Yeah. I imagine with how much this show reflects themes of the original source material, that it'll be something similar to Adrian Veidt's his saving the world type of thing, where there's a cost of some sort.
Gwen mentioned, I have no idea I don't know what to think about this, but Gwen mentioned that she thinks that maybe Veidt might be Lady True's father, because she mentions like, oh, he'll be here or he's coming or something like that about when Angela asks her where her dad is. So interesting.
She's got that
theory.
obsession with him and bought his company.
It's interesting too because in this episode we definitely get. I mean, and we had talked about how Veidt's whole thing is separate from the main story, and like we're not sure when it's taking place. But like here, it's revealed like this trial's been going on for a year,
365 days of the people versus Adrian Veidt.
Which, oh God,
that whole scene was great. I loved that entire scene.
It's so amazing. Honestly, the actor and actress who play Mr. Phillips and Ms. Crookshanks are so fucking good. Like especially like in this scene, because you get to see them really like just fucking chew some words. Like the Miss Phillips' whole like closing remarks on the trial are so fucking good, and it just feels so good. And then the game warden is just a great fucking character.
The scene convinced me that like these are the people that should have made the Umbrella Academy.
Sure.
TV show, because they nail that tone of just that like weird, that dark, quirky, kind of surrealistic weird that the comic book does really well, and the show fucking sucks at.
Yeah. Are we? And this is the first time we've seen Veidt in his Ozymandias, or was he in it previously?
I think this is the first time we've seen him in it.
I was gonna say that's another.
We've seen the statue, but we've not
true.
seen.
That's true. That's another great shot that I feel like. Especially if you're just familiar with the source material, like seeing that and seeing just an old, tiny, much tinier Veidt in that is so good. Like it's such a cool moment.
I thought that moment was interesting because I was expecting him to whip out some last minute save for himself, and so far he hasn't, and he had that single tear running down his face. Like maybe he's actually in trouble.
Yeah, it's.
Well, there's the wink too, though, of Mrs. Crookshanks.
Yeah, but
that's her name, right? Or is that like a?
I've got your back,
right.
Or fuck you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
it could go either way.
Yeah, it's just so great. I love that stuff is all still so like pretty separate from everything. Like that's such a great wild. I don't know. We will definitely talk about this next week after we're done, but like. I really think that this show is it pulls so many great like magic trick feeling things of weaving like these stories together while still, I don't know, it just all feels so good to me. But yeah, any other thoughts on Veidt before we move on, or anything going on out there? I love it. Now that you said that Umbrella Academy thing, I can't stop thinking about it, and it's just going to make me more and more mad about what Umbrella Academy actually is. The show, I mean. Okay, let's talk about Laurie Blake real quick. And Petey. We do get kind of that follow-up on the big cliffhanger from last week's set of episodes, which was Looking Glass getting the 7th Cavalry guys going to his house. And presumably he is alive and fucking did some work on a bunch of white supremacists in his bunker, which is pretty rad. But yeah, any thoughts on where Laurie Blake is at?
Even though she is tied up in an abandoned JCPenney, she still like is so in control of herself and the situation. Like even though she she's a captive. She's got this. Like, it's amazing. I love her so much.
Yeah. I think this episode does a really great thing too, because the series so far has done such a great job of letting you know that Laurie Blake always knows what's going on.
Yeah.
She will very frequently act as though she doesn't, but we know that she always knows what's going on. But that moment in the Crawford's house, when there's that switch, like, you can tell, I feel like you can tell that Laurie Blake feels like she can go in and kind of rough this woman up, and like get the information she needs. But then when she reveals that there's just this whole other layer, there is this like moment of that, like, oh fuck, I did not know any of this, and then she is taken by surprise. And like, I think that is just it's just such a great way to reveal that information, especially to have that character be the one that is in that situation when that gets revealed.
Yeah, she's a grieving widow. She's an older woman. She's not like the mastermind, but she's also obviously very in control of the situation.
Yeah. And like, if you think about the things that she's been involved in to this point, the dinner party, like how much of taking Angela up to that room, now that you're thinking about, how deep in this was did she expect her to find that thing? Is that why, there's like, it just calls into question all these past moments that you've seen her in, which is really, really interesting.
I was a little bummed out by the end of that scene, actually, because I feel with what we've established as her character now in this show, and what her character, she used to be a superhero essentially, right? I mean, she beat up the top knots in a back alley one time. So
we all, fuck, man.
The same top knots who killed the original Night Owl. So I don't know. I didn't love the.
Those
bit.
are the top knots.
I didn't love the bit where she like, because also like. They're talking about, like, oh, the 7th Cavalry, who your husband was probably a member of, who, if she's this smart, probably suspects she's a member of, whips out a remote and points it at you and starts pressing buttons. You wait that long? Like, it was like a bit that lasted a bit too long. Like, I can understand, like, the first little bit being like, I'm not sure what's going on here, but, like, you're talking about mind control. She's a suspect. And you, like, used to be a fucking superhero. You, like, have instincts, Like, I don't know. I didn't buy that. It felt a little forced to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I do have a thing. I have a thing that will help you with that. Here's the other thing that Laurie Blake has done since she's gotten Tulsa. She opened up her heart to this lowly projectionist intern. They fucked, and now she's just like, that happens. She's like, who's going to look after Petey? Who the fuck is going to look after Petey? That's all she can think about. She's thrown off her game because she's learned to love again. God, I hated it as I said it. Anyways, yeah, no, I totally get that.
This episode, I didn't really think of that as a weak moment until you said it, but now I agree. I felt like Angela going in the elevator and happening on the globe room was a little bit situationally convenient, which I thought I hadn't noticed in the writing in this show up until now. So I was slightly disappointed with that. I mean, it worked. It was fine.
Well,
but...
Yeah, because like there's no reason for her to press that specific floor.
Right.
It just kind of happens.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, I get that. She's also in an extremely controlled environment. So it's another one of those things that's like, is this another play by True to try to get her?
Yeah.
Because we get the feeling that True already knows. She knows the secret that Angela has. Like, so I wonder how much of that is.
So maybe any button she pushed,
I don't know,
might have taken her there.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I feel like there's a few things like this. The last episode that we watched is actually my least favorite episode so far, with a asterisk attached to that. I think the next episode will reveal how I feel about this episode, because I feel like there's a lot of like situational stuff, like you said. I feel like what we get with Keen, like who seems to be the big bad villain of all this.
Is he the congressman? Is that his name? Okay.
And just seemed kind of, with how complex the themes of the show have been with the different sides and stuff, it kind of came. I mean, I'm more interested to learn what his motivations are, and if they are as simplified as they appeared in this episode. I'm a little bummed out by that.
It did seem a little bit like a caricature.
Yeah.
Where we haven't really had a caricature before.
Yes, and that's what I feel about a lot of things just in this episode, like, and just the, I don't know, the misery porn of Angela's childhood and family just felt a little, with that grandma heart attack, felt like just the step a little bit too much, like, okay, like, we get it, she's had a traumatic life, and almost kind of, I mean, once again, who knows what's going to happen in the next couple episodes, but it feels like she's in the same spot that she was before the grandma came into the scene, right? Like, she would just go back to the orphanage.
So she had like a glimpse of a good life again, and it was taken away, and it didn't really move her any farther along in her character progression.
So
we will. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, there might be something more. So I think my opinion of this episode is very much determined on what comes next. Yeah. But right now, it's not sitting the best with me.
Yeah. Great. Well, is there anything else to talk about before we talk about the real shit?
Hands are really sweaty.
All the flashbacks, is that the real shit? Okay,
yeah. I mean, episode 6. I mean, like, I just feel like that's like that's the bigger stuff to talk about now. Like, all of Will and Angela's stuff.
Do we want to touch on
the elephant in the room? I just wanted to say that. There's not a lot to talk about there, but I don't know. That's a weird thing too. Is like, kind of what you've already touched on is like how much is True controlling. Like, and that's another moment that kind of almost feels out of character, where it's like, you're the smartest person, and you want this person getting this treatment. You're gonna leave them alone, and with like the ability to unplug themselves. Also, you're going to be able to break into a handprint room by smashing the handprint controller.
That's my favorite conceit in sci-fi. Yeah, is like breaking something just like, okay, fuck, yeah, open. Let him in. I don't know. Like that. Like, I think about the place that I work, which definitely doesn't have any elephants being protected in it. And it's hard enough to get in with the fucking card I have. Like...
And I can tell you right now, if I break the card scanner, the door's not going to fucking open.
It's got to stay closed. It's going to be even harder to open.
All doors in this universe are prone to intimidation, or susceptible to intimidation and violence.
Which, it is a very optimistic worldview to think every door's, like, default position is open.
That's the real message.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to break it.
Oh God, so good. Yeah, well, let's talk about episode 6.
Sorry, Justin, do you have something you really want to talk about with that?
The elephant wise.
I just thought of the elephant.
Not
in
with
the
the
room
elephant. I just the realization that Cal as Dr. Manhattan was kind of a big deal for me.
Yeah, we haven't.
Yeah, did anyone?
I guess that was the big one.
Yeah, did anyone see that coming?
I did not.
I did not, but I did notice, like, throughout the course of the season, I'm like, wow, this is an empty character. Like, I was like, they didn't really try a whole lot with him.
Once Lady True, like, I figured something was up with him since he had his quote unquote accident. Like, I felt like there was something there. But once Lady True said Dr. Manhattan's in Tulsa, I was like,
Yeah. It's. Yeah, there's a lot of like little things that, like, going back and watching this second or third time, you pick up on that are just, I think, funny.
That's what I was thinking is, like, I remember, like, Agent Blake commenting on how good looking he was. Yeah. Like, we've got little breadcrumbs throughout, and his build is like, he's very muscular, he's tall. Like this shot where Angela is like trying to like remind him or like tell him what's going on before she bashes his head in with the hammer. Like the way he's standing there, like just everything about that. It's like, it's just Dr. Manhattan right there standing in the room, and you can see it, but it's Cal instead. Yeah. It's wild.
Well, it's funny because, like, that's one of the first things, like, we get, like, from Will, I think in episode 2, and she's like, who the fuck hung this guy? And he's like, oh, it's me. I'm Dr. Manhattan. I can take human form. It's like this, just thrown off like bullshit, like that is immediately dismissed, and like, yeah, it's just it's really fun.
The bit with the hammer, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this. You tell me if, because you're the only other one I think that would even know what this is. I got some Amory War vibes from that scene.
Okay. Okay.
Because, I mean, I guess because I don't know, with dumb connections that they're both comic books, and that it's someone who is just bludgeoning to death a very dear member of their family with a hammer because they are something else. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection, but I see that. Yeah,
I don't know. It kind of it felt very similar to me. Which, I mean, this one's much more believable to me. And the Amory Wars, it's like in the first act, and it's his own children because they're apparently the spawn of Satan imitating his children. And takes one conversation for him to be like, "Yep, I'm going to kill my kids with a hammer."
I will say, cannot recommend the concept album versions enough. Will not really recommend those comic books.
I haven't made any effort to read any more of them as they've slowly come out over long periods of time. But I did I don't know if that was an intentional, like, comic nerd thing. Someone in the cast was like, I'm a comic. Because a hammer seems so specific there, and, like, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but...
No, I think that's an interesting... Yeah, I didn't make that connection, but that is an interesting idea.
So was there an actual Cal and Dr. Manhattan arranged this accident and took his place? Because, I mean, it happened in the United States. It was in Vietnam, but it's a state. Like, you can't just make a person appear out of nowhere, right?
I mean... He can do what he wants. He can like, he's powerful enough that he can, like, rearrange molecules and shit.
Oh, okay.
So it's like he could probably make a person out of nothing, I would
So
guess.
he's God, yeah?
Yeah, no, yeah, he's very much God.
Okay.
And I'm really interested because, I mean, obviously we all thought that Hooded Justice was white for many years, and who knows what the hell Alan Moore thinks of this show. But Dr. Manhattan was very clearly white in the comic because we saw him without a mask on. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, and if they even are gonna, if it's just like well, we recast him and it was like a different thing, or if it's gonna be like a story point. I wonder.
I feel like with how much race is talked about and as the theme of this show, it's going to be a very specific choice.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess that. I'm interested to see what that becomes. I guess what that is, because, yeah. I mean, we haven't seen there's even a shot in that episode of Dr. Manhattan in Vietnam, and I mean, it could have been a recreation in the televised universe of this show, but we specifically don't see his face in that shot. So, was he always supposed to look like him? I don't know. It's hurting my brain, but it also, like, there's so many questions, because it's like, okay, if he, for some reason, like she mentioned, like, that we had to do this so that we could be together still. I'm like, okay, what does that say about Angela? Like, if you two met and you guys fell in love, Justin and Gwen, right? Like you do, and
if that happened,
let's just hypothetically say, I'm not trying to set you up or anything. But
you're pushing this way too hard, man.
But then it's like, okay, well, for some cosmic reason, we can't be together unless I erase your memory and put you in this husk of a body, and you're actually not you with no memory of yourself. So maybe that. Would you do that? Like, is that the same?
I wouldn't, but I also wouldn't dress up as a nun and take people in back rooms and beat the shit out of them for confessions.
So you're saying that's the determining factor. If a person is willing to dress up like a nun and beat the shit out of people, then yes, they will. But
they will love a husk man.
They will love a husk man.
A, therefore B.
A husky
can't
man.
argue with that logic. Yeah, but so there's like that, and then it's like, I mean, Dr. Manhattan, I don't know, his emotions is a kind of a topic of discussion from the comic book and the show, and I mean the movie, and it's like, it feels like the more time he spends being, Dr. Manhattan post accident, he feels less, I mean, there's a bit at the end that kind of leaves that up for discussion in the original story, but is he capable of, I mean, he's loving a lot of people apparently. yeah, so it's like, I don't know. Man falls in love pretty quickly, I guess, for not having emotions.
In the comic, do you see the end of FBI lady and Dr. Manhattan's relationship? Like, is there a clear... Okay. Because I was wondering, like, if that was an ongoing thing, why did he then move on to Angela? But if there was a definitive end, that makes more sense.
as definitive as a messy, fucked up relationship can have. But it is like...
I mean, we kind of come in when it's like, oh, pretty much over in the original story. But then there's like some weird lingering things. It's there's just so many questions with that I hope that we get enough answers of in the next episode, which it seems like that's what they're going to answer from the little thing at the end that was like, on the next episode.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, the name of the next episode is A God Walks Into a Bar. Angela Abar, the last name.
Hey.
So it's a pretty fucking good title. So
And
if
from what I saw,
else,
there's a scene where they meet in a bar. So,
if nothing else, this is a great play on words, which I am a huge fan.
is this
of.
gonna like erase history of Watchmen? Like, is it gonna pull like a whole everything you thought you knew, you didn't really know because this actually happened, and it was just like Lady True has actually built a machine in the comic world that's affecting your real life perception of stories and like trying to break a fourth wall. What are the like?
I mean, I do want to talk about that because I feel like the show does do that in these episodes that we watched. Does he? I guess I don't want to like derail conversation on Dr. Manhattan. I feel like I also cannot participate in this conversation because
That's true.
Are you going towards like the mind control aspect of like movies and stuff?
Well,
or?
I just wanted to talk specifically about
Like changing
Hooded Justice's origin story.
Oh, okay.
Because even in the comic book, that origin story is called out in the show too. You see that it's the very first time that you see American Hero story, and he's like doing the voiceover. He's like, I'm this guy from the circus or whatever, or I made him think I was that guy. But like in the comic book, it's pretty firmly established that like they're like, yeah, pretty much everyone agrees it was this like strong man from the circus or whatever. And it's kind of left at that. And I think that a really incredible and genius thing this show does is like rewriting that history without changing. It's not like a stealth change to something, you know what I mean? Like in a reboot where they're like, oh well, this is this now because this is I can't do that anymore. Like this feels like it fits in so well still with the universe while also addressing this idea of forgotten history, which it also like shines a real life light on with that first scene in the show of these Tulsa race riots that none of us knew about prior to this show, and that have had like apparently lots of people didn't know about it because it was this huge thing. And so to be able to thematically also work that into your show for the characters in the world, or at least for one character in that world, I guess the rest of the world still assumes that it's this other guy or whatever. But I just think that it's so cool. And it's something that I haven't really seen. I can't really think of anything else that does that so well, where it's rewriting the history of its source material without dismantling any of the source material. Like all of that source material stuff still stands and works, but it's just like peeling back that layer to actually find there's this truth that you didn't know. And I don't know. It's really, I just think it's really fascinating.
The part that I found most interesting about that particular aspect is when we first see the TV show. In the TV show, it's the justice guy breaking into the delicatessen, the grocery store, to stop a robbery. And turns out in real life, he, stumbled in from the back after killing a bunch of Klansmen. And like the difference between the dramatization of the story and the actual events, at least as Will remembers them, because, memory, like it wasn't a huge difference, but it was enough that I noticed it. And it just got me thinking about like the dramatization of real life events. And I've been like reluctant to watch The Social Network for this reason, because I know once I watch it, I will accept that version of events as the way they actually happened rather than my brain like I will understand that it's a dramatization, but that's the only version I know. So I just thinking about dramatization of history and the way that it changes public perception.
Yeah.
That's why I don't love biopics. Like, I have a hard time viewing biopics, particularly biopics that are done of pretty recent events, because public opinion is still so intense on those subjects that it's like, I don't know. It's hard to. And I do like, I can't remember his name. We've said it a few times. The FBI dude did Slide Projector, Petey, and she's just like, that show is garbage. Yeah, so I don't know. That's definitely a fascinating topic. I will say that I came to a realization that watching Klansmen get beat the shit out of might be more satisfying than Nazis.
Oh, it feels really good.
Like,
it feels really good.
Because, and here's my logic. I think subconsciously I had to like do some internal digging to feel like, why do I feel this way? And I think it's because, Nazis, most of them, I mean, any of them who are by choice, fucking dirtbags. But there's a lot, I mean, like, you were considered a Nazi if you were, drafted or whatever the fuck, and you just lived in Germany, So it's like, like some of them didn't want to do this shit, and so it's like, you got a little bit of leeway there with the clans. You got shit. Like, you're like a sea organization who wears ghost masks, like, it's like you don't get born in. I mean, technically you can get born into that culture, I guess, but you end up making that choice whether you're in the clan or not. So just watch them just get the shit beat out of them.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that's another one of those scenes. Like, this time around, watching it and realizing they went to the back room of a general store to put on their clan costumes and fucking play cards with each other. Like. These guys are just fucking getting off on this whole shit.
Look, when you're on the clock, you're on the clock.
I guess. When you're on the clock, you're in the cloth.
Oh, oh, man. But now I realize what I want for Wolfenstein 3.
Yes. Well, I did want to bring that up because I feel like this episode always makes me think of a very specific thing, and I can't remember if you've played this, but there's a video game called Mafia 3.
I haven't. I own it, but I haven't played it yet.
I will say not great, but what is great about it is the writing and the storytelling, and it's a sort of similar story to this, where you have a guy who is a Vietnam veteran who has come back and is black and fucking realizes that there's still fucking nothing for him, but a lot of that game is taking down fucking white supremacists in a way that's super satisfying. But it also, that was like another story that I was like, man, it's so great. Like I said, the game is not perfect, but the writing and the characterization and kind of the depiction of a lot of those struggles that we see in this as well, though very different, are really cool, and worth checking out. Anyways,
but yeah, that's off topic of Will's. I mean, there's so much to dig into Will's flashbacks that, I mean, both from like a narrative and commentary perspective, but then also of a filmmaking perspective. Yeah,
let's actually talk about that first real quick, because I feel like I do want to I do think it's worth separating those things out, because there's so many great little production things in this. This entire episode, I mean, most of this episode is black and white, but the way that they use color, particularly for like the ideas of memories within memories, and then when Angela is also being kind of like pulled out of those moments, like when she's frozen after diving out of the window, the way they use like these spots of color on both Laurie and Cal's face as they're talking, are so like clear and simple, and I think it's just so great. I think it's so good.
Yeah, that shot of that freeze frame out the window is pretty amazing. There's a lot of long takes. I don't know how long they actually were. They look like they were kind of digitized together a bit, but they're still cool, and they still achieve a very interesting effect to it. There's a lot of interesting moments that are very specific of when they choose to show Angela as him versus himself as him, that I think are not just coincidental or haphazardly done. yeah, just lots of cool editing and cinematography, and really well paced too. It's hard to do something that's so expositionarily dumping on you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that even a word? Expositionarily?
Yeah. They call it an expositioning on you.
Expositioning all over you. But to do that without feeling like convoluted and like how I talk and how I just jump to like, oh, I have to hit this and this and this. Like, it's got a really nice flow to it. Its pacing is really good. I never feel like we're spending too long in one memory. I always felt like, oh, I want more. Like, and yeah, just really good, solid filmmaking.
Yeah. It's like an episode I watched and I'm like, I bet the storyboards for this are fucking gorgeous. Because like the transitions between everything are so good. And I think help with that pacing while also lending it this very like dreamlike and fantastic quality. This is really, really wonderful. And also the guy who plays young Will Reeves, whose name I'm forgetting now, is so good.
Great.
Like that performance is really, really good.
Yeah, I think the filmmaking aspects of it are, I should say, are great, but less important than the narrative implications and the thematic nature and commentary of what all of this has to say for our world, as well as the world in which we are participating in the Watchmen show. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we talked a little bit about it already, but like kind of the reveal of him being Hooded Justice, that moment where he's being lynched by his fellow police officers, and then now just has this noose around his neck as he's walking around. That was like, as soon as I saw that as he stood up, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, and then like the whole thing with Captain Metropolis, like being the most manipulative, son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah.
It's like the most unhealthy relationship ever. And it's like, there's a lot to dig in with like the commentary on this episode of like, of just like the different racial inequality things with people who are masquerading as, for lack of a better, I don't know if I'm trying to think of a better word than what I was going to say, a like ally of social justice, I should say, I guess is the best way to word that. But who are using people and minorities for their own gain, who are very manipulative in how they talk to those people and interact with those people. And you see it very clearly with Captain Metropolis being like, just the whole idea of I think the way you worded it earlier was perfect. It was like, you can't be you, like, or whatever. I can't remember. We need you to not be you, essentially.
But I like you, who you are.
But I'm the only one who's going to like you, so keep it under wraps type of thing.
Well, and like, I think that's another thing. We see a scene of that from the show, the show within the show, that is this sex scene between Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis, and the power dynamics in that are totally flipped, which is also feels like this commentary about like the way that the public perceives power versus how that power actually existed, because we do get the feeling like Captain Metropolis probably wouldn't have been able to do or get the credibility that he needed were Hooded Justice not a part of their group. But also he is doing that constant thing where he's like, I think you're fucking awesome. Everyone else fucking hates you though. So zip it. Like, it's like this very like manipulative thing. Whereas in the show, you get this perception that the public really did think Hooded Justice was like probably the
main
power
guy,
behind
the
the
leader
Minutemen.
or whatever.
Yeah. And so that, I think that all is really fascinating too, just in the way that we perceive, I think you can draw it to like any public figure at this point. Our perception of them is vastly different from the realities of their lives. It's just impossible to really know those things. And so it's good to know. I think the important thing is to know that you can't know those things. And if you ever catch yourself thinking you know those things, you should probably stop. But yeah, I think that stuff is all really, really fascinating. Aside from, the larger context of, the racial things that we're talking about. And I think like you mentioned the very specific moments where you're seeing Angela as Will or in Will or however you want to think about that. But that lynching scene in particular is shot from a first-person perspective, like for that whole of him getting, pulled into that tree, and then afterwards we get that shot of like we see Angela in the aftermath of that, which I think is, those two choices are so incredibly specific and so incredibly effective, that I think you can really feel. I think that those, even if you just took that segment, like you get almost the whole breadth of like the thematic, what they're trying to explore and what they're trying to show and what they're trying to say in that like minute long segment, which is just really, really incredible.
It feels really clear without being too ham-fisted, I think, which is a very difficult thing to do. And also, and what helps them achieve that is the fact that it fits so well both narratively, like it makes sense for what's happening in the story to have Angela be shown as her grandfather, but it also fits very well to make a commentary about the real world situation we are in, about, and I think that's kind of a theme throughout this whole show, is like, particularly with their relationship over the episodes that they interact, are kind of the residual and systemic effects of racism from what they were to what they are now. And that there is, I don't want to use the word trickle down because I feel like that minimalizes it, but for lack of a better term, the trickle down of the events of the past to the present. And that's really cool to see. Just to see the narrative side and the outside commentary side fit so nicely together. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's really artfully done.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, there's a moment, the moment in this episode, there's so much. There's like, I do like feel like we need to like say like none of us are qualified really to talk about a lot of these like bigger topics in super meaningful ways, other than just sharing our experiences with these episodes and stuff. But I think that one of the moments in these episodes for me is that kind of communicates that idea of this trauma that is passed down and that you're experiencing, is that conversation that he has with June, that Will has with June early on when she's interviewing him, and she's like, "You're really angry. Like, you're an angry person." And he's like, "I'm not." He's like, "I'm totally happy. I've got all these things. I've got everything I wanted." And you have later on after that scene, after he's had that first experience as Hooded Justice, and he is in their apartment or whatever, and he's like, I am angry. Like, and I think that it's one of those things that like, recognizing that anger, knowing where that anger is coming from, is so integral to his whole journey as a character and the way he sees the world. That was the thing. That's a big thing I take away from this episode, is like, I don't even know where to go with that fully, but like, I think that that's such an important thing this episode presents, and it does it very clearly, very succinctly. And I don't know, I'm going to stop there because I'm just rambling at this point, but I think that there's so many of those moments throughout this, that for me felt really, eye-opening, and at least moments where it was like connecting emotional reactions to things that I knew about racism, I guess. In as much that this episode to me feels like it's very much less for a black audience and more for a white audience to understand a lot of that experience, which I think is really incredible, that it can work on that level. Anyways, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm rambling. Who else wants to talk about this?
I think you're right, though. Like, I had never seen on screen the amount of just face-forward, unapologetic racism into the face of a black character. Like, I'd, seen a black character called the N-word in, whatever, but like just moment after moment after moment after moment, it just didn't stop in this one. And it was something that I had never seen before. And I'm very white. I've never seen, I've never had to deal with that. And it's like real people have dealt with this. Real people deal with this. And seeing it so blatantly just on screen in a fictional context was like, I don't even have the words for it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I think this episode made me think of situations and contexts I'd never thought of before. Like, I understood to an extent, the atrocities and just blatant racism that existed during, civil rights era and things like that, but not down to the specifics of like, imagine being a police officer. Just that's being your dream and you wanting to get that job, but unfortunately for you, the time period you're living in, you're an African American and you don't even get the dignity of like the same guy giving you your medal at graduation. Right. Like that alone is like pretty disgusting, but then it gets worse and worse and worse the more you try, like the more you're going into it. And that guy he confronts, who has the most punchable of faces, and I shouldn't love violence as much as I do in that moment, but when he shoots him, I'm like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't just that whole thing just made me think of just like not small, but instances like that I had never, I guess, thought about in detail before, and like ones that I had never seen shown in media before. So that was, I don't know, this was a really cool experience without trying to sound like I'm, I don't know what the word is, but like
woke Olympics.
Yeah, it's like it. I don't know. This is a good show. This is a very good show, and it does things that other shows aren't doing, and it's very fun to be uncomfortable, and it's very cool to explore them in this, because this is the same show that has that court scene in it. Like, it's so, I don't know. I'm talking too much. Justin, say something.
I like that court scene a lot.
Thanks.
Can I butt in again?
Please.
I appreciated the distinction between like the historical, like the memory scenes that we saw of the in-your-face racism to Will, and then when he took the sheriff, whose name I can't remember, to go hang himself, the sheriff was like, "Look, I'm trying to help you people," and he said, "You people," like, holy shit! Like the difference between the outright racism and the more subtle version of quote unquote "you people," I felt like was really powerful, because almost no one is like saying the N-word anymore, but I feel like we still get the "you people," and I felt like that distinction was amazing writing.
Oh, yeah. Is that their whole plan? Is that the 7th Cavalry whole plan? To make everyone blue so that there is no racism?
God.
And that we're all God?
Listen, fine. Oh, you don't want us to think you're better, we're better. We'll all just be blue.
If everyone's
Fuckers.
super,
That's exactly what I thought of.
no one is.
God damn it.
I hope that this is a shared universe with the Incredibles, and Dash Incredible shows up. Oh my gosh, the sheriff was Dash Incredible. That means Mr. Incredible is fuck.
Well, I think like, even along with that, just thinking of like, this show goes actually pretty hard on the idea of just rebranding racism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all just a business. It is all about perception. It's about rewording this. So we're not saying that we don't like Jews anymore. We're saying we're just trying to maintain the culture that we have. We're just trying, you know what I mean? It's all about just this fucking marketing bullshit almost, of just like making everything more digestible, making racism more digestible. And like, I don't know.
We're not racist.
Crazy.
There's just a power imbalance, and now it's hard to be a white man.
Oh, God.
We're not white supremacists.
Have you heard the Beck song about how it's hard to be a white man? It came up on my this. Oh man, this
Beck, or is
I'm pretty sure it's Beck.
Or what's his face? Shit. Rockin' the Suburbs guy.
Ben Folds?
Ben Folds
I
is
don't-
the one I'm thinking.
Oh.
But I think that's more ironic.
Oh, you think
I
it's
don't
Rockin'
think
the
it-
Suburbs?
I don't think it's Ben Folds.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
pretty sure it
that's-
was a Beck song. Yeah, I mean, it's
Interesting.
irrelevant. I mean, it came out. I think it came out. I need to go research this more. It showed up on my Spotify Discover earlier this summer, and it just popped into my head. And I remember hearing it and thinking, like, what does Spotify think about me right now? Why am I getting this song during this time of history that's happening right now? Why am I a target for this song? But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Beck, and I think it was written in like the late 90s, maybe.
Doesn't
Maybe?
Beck do a lot of like satire though? Or-
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this that's why I need to go like look into it more, because it felt like it was like haha funny type of like, I'm gonna write a song about how hard it is to be a white guy, but like, because I don't know, I've got to look this up. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Like make something about him that isn't true. Like
Right.
that just popped in my head, and I'm like, oh shit, I had totally forgotten about that.
Yeah, you just send me that when you find it.
Yeah. I'll go look it up and send it to you.
All right. Whew. I'm tired already. Let's talk more about kind of the narrative implications of the stuff we learned about Will and Angela. I think these two episodes pair really well together, just because I feel like you kind of get these flashbacks that are both about these characters that we know really well that kind of coalesce and are now living in Angela, which is really interesting. But in even like, I think one of my favorite moments, one of my favorite recurring things is the Trust in the Law short that we see at the very beginning, which is the movie that he would watch all the time as a kid. And we get a lot of those musical like recurrences because he's seeing his mom play piano and a lot of his memories around, and all of that. And those are all starting to bleed together. But I think that moment right at the end of this episode, right before Angela wakes up, where you're kind of having this coalescence of imagery and everything, and you have like June is the one that kind of pulls Angela out, which we then learn in the next episode was this moment of her coming to the orphanage and visiting with her. But I think that stuff, I mean, even divorced from everything we've just said about how this show creates a really masterful like commentary on themes that like are relevant to our world, the world of Watchmen, the world of 40 years ago, like all of that, it just feels so fucking buttery smooth. Like the narrative arcs and everything and the threads that they're pulling together just come together so nicely, I feel like. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that, but it's just amazing to me. This is like the third time I've watched this, and I'm still really impressed at the just absolute great storytelling that is happening in this show from episode to episode. Yeah, I don't know.
The one thing that like didn't quite fit with the rest as smoothly was June leaving Will. Like, I didn't really get why she was so upset. Like, she didn't want him to go in with the Minutemen, but like I never felt like we got personal fallout from that other than her leaving. That
Yeah.
I kind of felt
I
like
didn't quite get that.
I sort of felt like it was kind of shown a little bit in the scene where he's like putting the makeup on or taking the makeup off, and he's looking in the mirror and he kind of looks around and you see like June pregnant, and you see her put the baby down, you see her with their son, but you never see it's always her with the child, and he's witnessing all of it. He's not participating in any of it. So that was kind of like to me at least, that was sort of the portrayal of like he is separate from all of this family stuff that's going on. He is just an outsider to what's happening as he's seeing it all, as he's putting on or taking off the makeup. I can't remember what exactly it was that he was doing. So that was the explanation that I got as to why she left,
That makes sense. Yeah.
or at least what led up to that.
I do wish they would have touched a little bit more because she's the one that kind of encouraged him, I feel like, to do all that. And then there's this turn, which
Yeah.
I think there's enough there that they could have elaborated a little bit more to make that, to sell that a little bit better for me. Because it seemed like so much of it hung on that scene where he's rubbing the makeup off his son, where the way she treated it seemed like it was like he punched him. And I was like, I don't know, this reaction doesn't seem quite...
Like he wasn't. He was rough, but he wasn't like yelling. He wasn't yanking. He wasn't.
Yeah, he was not. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a little like I like that you brought that up because I didn't really necessarily think about like the ramifications of that like montage, I guess. But yeah,
Well, and like that was the culmination of the things that we saw him do as a vigilante, and maybe this just speaks to my bias, but I never saw him do anything where I was like, I don't think you should have done that. Like everything that he did as a vigilante, I was like, yeah, I can see how you got there, and I'm not super mad that you killed Klansmen without a trial or whatever. Yeah. So it was just a weird moment, and like burning down a warehouse full of mind-controlling evil Klansmen. Like, I didn't disagree with that. So it was a weird turn.
yeah, and I think that it really, I don't know. To me, they can sell it a little better with literally like 3 lines of dialogue. I feel like from her that, I mean, because like, I mean that is something as if you were a vigilante and you were just murdering people. That is, I mean, whether they deserve it or not, that's something that would do a lot of mental damage to you, and to have your son then try and imitate that would be very heart-wrenching and alarming. So I understand.
It's like from his perspective, you get why he's so upset at what his son is doing. Like we see his side of the story, and maybe like, I mean, this is the case. It feels like in superhero stories, just hero stories all the time. Like the spouse or the partner doesn't know what's going on or is kept from that as like a protection or whatever. So maybe I'm just reading into this too much to try and like find a reason as to why she would leave so quickly. But maybe she just doesn't know what he's been doing. And it's hard to put years of tension that between a husband and wife into
like 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, are there any other kind of passing thoughts on that? We've kind of talked a lot about it. There's like a million more things we talk about, but
did we talk about the choices of when to put color in the flashbacks at all?
Yes, we did.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I noticed, and I wondered if anyone had any coherent why they decided to put it where they did, but we can.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about because we get some of Angela's backstory. We learn a little bit more specifically the state of Vietnam in the world of Watchmen, which is now a state of the United Variety.
Yeah, fuck you, Puerto Rico.
Seriously, though, what the fuck?
Screw DC, man.
No, but really, fuck DC.
It is where all the politicians live, so, you know.
But yeah, I one of the things I really like about her backstory is that they just, and it's not even a big deal, but just they established that like her whole thing, like her whole deal is influenced by a like blaxploitation movie that she discovered in a video store that looks fucking rad. I will say, like, I'm kind of obsessed with like graphic design of fake shit in like looking at all those movies. I was like, oh man, I wish I would just want to see what all these weird movies are. What Swingers? I can't remember the full name of it now.
Yeah, it was like they had the porn right next to
the
the
kids movie was on the same shelf. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the design of Sister Knights, that whole cover, very good. Like I really want to see that shit.
One thing that I noticed about like the costume design of these two episodes is every time we see Angela, she's wearing blue. Like she's in a blue jumpsuit in the scene where she picks out the video. She's in a blue jumpsuit as an adult after she's woken up. And there are a couple other times where she's in a different outfit that is blue. And I'm wondering if I missed it.
Are they jumpsuits every time?
Jumper, a one piece.
Well, I know those 2 times you said. The third time you mentioned, was she also in a one?
Those are the 2 outfits that I remember specifically, but the other I do remember that she was in blue, whatever outfit she wore. Like in the girls' home, I think was blue as well.
There's so many things there.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. That's really interesting.
I noticed it because there was really so much blue with the Dr. Manhattan masks and the puppets, and she was also in blue.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, we get kind of her whole tragic backstory.
Very tragic.
Like, yeah. It's so tragic.
Keeps getting more tragic.
Yeah. And which kind of like casts an even like maybe brighter light on the stuff we've already discussed about her relationship with her kids now, who also have this incredibly tragic childhood so far. Like I think it definitely just re-emphasizes all of that stuff, which like we already kind of got, but definitely kind of shines a brighter light on that. All I could think too, like when she gets taken out by the police as a girl, and they like ask her if he's the guy that she saw or whatever, and then you just hear a gunshot like 30 feet away, and like no, like none of that really registers at all with her. Like she's very like, all I could think was the line that she says to Looking Glass in like episode 2, and she's like, "You're a cold motherfucker." Like that's like looking at that little girl, I was like, "Geez, holy shit!" She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a cop." It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get kind of some perception too of like what her idea of justice entails.
Yeah.
From that, as being a little kid and seeing this police officer who is a woman too, who you're probably looking up to, being like, "Oh, I can be. This is what I want to do." And so like the idea of justice is vigilante justice, that type of thing, which I mean in Vietnam, I guess, whatever, but I mean I've never been in Vietnam. I shouldn't talk about Vietnam.
This is a strange connection that I made. So you're familiar with, that picture, or depending on if you've seen the video of the prisoner who is executed on the streets of Vietnam. There's a famous picture of a guy whose arms are behind his back and he's being shot. There's video footage of that, of him being shot and killed right there. The dude who they captured and was in the back seat of the car, I'm pretty sure he looks really similar to that guy. And I don't know, like, maybe it's because I am white and I'm not familiar with Asian cultures very much. That very well could be the case, and I'm ignorant. But like the casting and everything, like it probably wasn't intentional. Maybe it's just me picking up on things. But like, it's in Vietnam. We have actual historical stuff that happened there. He got executed. It's kind of like, I don't know if there's a tie there, because I'm pretty sure that the guy who in real life is in that photo and was killed was like a rebel or something, or I don't know if he was Viet Cong. I don't remember the story behind the picture. I should know, but I don't. But yeah, and the way that they just like take him off and shoot him, I don't know. Yeah. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, if not visually, definitely like thematically, like it feels in line with that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I mean, and Watchmen is definitely, I mean, it's a
like alternate history kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and,
the whole, and I mean, it's upset. A lot of it hinges around Vietnam. Like, it's definitely, I definitely don't think that anything that they do with Vietnam is not thought through to that level. So yeah, that's actually a really interesting observation. I hadn't thought about that.
I thought it was really interesting, the connection to dropping. Maybe this connection is just in my own head, but like the dropping the squid on New York to end the Cold War, and Dr. Manhattan going in and presumably, trouble with that word tonight, killing a shit ton of people, because a lot of people in Vietnam don't like him based on the graffiti and etc. So he killed a shit ton of people to end the Vietnam War. and tying that back to like Hiroshima and just like what is the acceptable cost to end a war. And I feel like that's been an underlying, like, not the main theme, but I feel like it's been touched on several times. Yeah.
There's also the shot of, I think it's after Angela's grandma dies, and I think the camera is zooming in on her face, and up on the building behind her is graffiti, like Gwen was saying. I think graffiti, and it just says murderer, but the way that it's framed at the final shot is it's Angela as a child, and then murderer next to her head. And I was trying to figure out, like, what is that referencing, or is it foreshadowing something, or is there something about her that I don't know yet? But like, I felt like that was significant. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe I missed something, but yeah.
I mean, you could maybe argue that foreshadows her husband being her husband, Dr. Manhattan, essentially, because it's him, you know.
That's true, yeah.
But there could be something in the next episodes that it's referencing to.
Yeah.
And or just being a cop who takes people into side rooms and beats the shit out of them.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but it felt more on the point. I don't know, on the nose than that.
It did feel specific.
Yeah. That is it. Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. We've kind of talked a little bit about that. Definitely not as strong as some of the other narrative points of these two episodes, and maybe a little more ham-fisted of like. It really is. It's just fucking pulling the rug out from a kid. Like, you're finally gonna be happy.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier. That's how I feel about that episode a lot.
Yeah.
It's like it's not as expertly done, especially as the previous episode.
Yeah.
I got kind of excited when I thought Grandma was taking her home because I was like, wait, because she grew up in Saigon, so why is she going to Oh, Grandma died. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's one other thing that I want to talk about with these episodes. I'm sure if you guys have any other things that you want to bring up. But man, we get a lot of like in-world produced content in these episodes. We get like those clips of American Hero Story, which like, I don't know. I always love when I see that stuff and it looks and feels so different from like the actual show, you know. I mean, we talked about that with Twin Peaks. Like I've been watching Twin Peaks, but like the Invitation to Love stuff, which is just like so dumb and good.
Yeah.
But like you get that with American Hero Story, but then you also get just at the top of episode 7, the like John Osterman went into a spatial converter to get whatever the fuck they say. I don't even remember, but like it's just like this like very like PBS feeling like documentary thing where he's like, is he God or is he a mass murderer? Over the next 40 minutes, I will figure it out or whatever. You know, like this, like that stuff is really great. I love the footage of him like in Vietnam, like that they have of like that you mentioned earlier, that kind of like from the waist down of him like destroying shit. But then we also have the video that is just injected literally into Angela Abar's very body that teaches her what they're doing in the therapy that she's getting. Fucking cool. Like all of it. They show the whole thing. Yeah. You see the whole goddamn thing in this show. It's so good. I'm such a sucker for that shit. But yeah, any other closing thoughts on these episodes? And like I said, there's a lot of like sensitive stuff to talk about in these episodes, and
we nailed it.
Exactly. No, but like there's probably stuff that we glossed over, didn't touch on, or touched on in just the wrong way. I don't know, but like
probably
fucked
absolutely.
Up and we're sorry.
But I think the cool thing coming out of these episodes is how much, like how effective they are at like making me think of these things and like changing the way I think about a lot of these things. Yeah. It's really cool.
Can I point out just one small thing that I was like, embarrassed for me about? The guy, the puppet show guy, they gave him a really big scar on the cheek so that presumably white people who can't tell Asian people apart could for sure like ID him as
The same.
That's
guy.
kind of how I was feeling, like
okay.
describing that whole
Yeah.
scene.
So
It was
we
like,
as the
oh
audience
shit.
knew.
Yeah.
Because I was confused because I didn't notice the scar when he was doing the puppet thing, and so I was like, "Wait, was that the same guy?" Because
So we didn't think that she identified the wrong person.
Oh no!
I was
And then have
so-
murder in her head.
I was like just embarrassed for white people in general. Like, we can do better so that showrunners don't have to do this.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean,
I
to
feel
be fair,
like-
a lot of that would just, if they just cast more diverse talent in Hollywood, we'd see a lot. Anyways,
So the male cop in that scene, I swear I've seen him in. This is like more of the same shit though. It's like as a white guy, like the joke, like everybody looks the same if you're not. Yeah. But anyways, but I swear that the male cop in there, I've seen him in like as a Chinese man in something else, and I was like, I had the thought, like it's one of those like self-aware things. Is like, am I doing the thing right now? Am I like, yeah.
At least
So I feel bad about, like, I'm trying to be aware of this kind of stuff, but like, am I like too sensitive now to where like I'm pointing things out? Like that guy was cast as a Chinese man in a different show, and now he's playing Vietnam man, and it's because I'm a white man and I wouldn't know the difference, but I do. So fuck you. But maybe I'm the one who's just a moron, and he actually is Vietnamese. I don't know.
yeah, no, I get it.
You are the most racist person I know. It's-
What?
Wow. We're going to unpack that off mic. But if you want to reach out to us about anything, you can email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at rewatcherspod. We will be back next week. We'll finish up the show. We'll watch the last 2 episodes, episodes 8 and 9, and I don't know what the fuck we're doing after that. We'll figure it out. But we will go ahead and take a quick break and be back with some recommendations and some other talk about other stuff that we have been watching, reading, listening to, consuming, all that good shit. See you on the other side. Welcome to the recommendation section of the podcast where we talk about other things that we've watched, read, or listened to, or whatever. Gwen, what did you have for us this week?
I finished Dune, and sorry, I appreciate it for what it is historically.
wow.
Oh,
Ouch.
right.
Well,
I read the Bible
know-
and ditto.
I mean, like, I got through it and I was like, okay. I mean, it was published in 1965, so I should have expected some of the things, but yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was fine. I'm looking forward to the modern adaptation in the movie and seeing how it's been updated, and maybe Zendaya's character will be a little less one-dimensional. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was, it was fine.
Gwen, I don't want to get you too excited,
Oh
but
gosh.
there's a movie adaptation that already exists.
Oh yeah, I gotta watch
Mr.
that.
Lynch.
Huh?
Tried his hand at Dune, and
people
oh boy,
love
oh boy.
it, love it,
oh
love
boy,
it.
oh boy, oh boy.
I mean, I probably will watch it. I probably will.
Here's the thing to think about going into it. The original cut that he wanted was 4 hours long. The actual cut is 2 hours long, and he wasn't really involved in cutting it down from 4 hours to 2 hours. So, but get to see some cool shit.
I heard that there's like priests in it that are wearing these like things, and they were actually body bags that were like from an actual like used body bags.
What? Okay, I haven't heard that. That sounds amazing.
That's like being very disconnected, and I don't even remember the source.
Yeah.
But I do remember being like, "Wow, David Lynch is kind of fucked up to pull it," because and he didn't tell them or something, and like afterwards they learned that. I don't know.
What is the thing? I mean, you also get Kyle MacLachlan as Paul Atreides.
Yeah, I
And
figure
Dune,
he's a
which-
little old.
a little old and a little young. I don't know. It's a lot going on there. It's bizarre. Awesome. Okay, well,
Have you read Dune?
not since I was like 13.
Oh, I haven't read Dune at all. I feel like.
But like thinking
Have
back
you read
now,
Dune?
I
like,
listened to
when I
it.
learned about like white savior tropes in like years after that, I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh,
Dune.
Like,
You mean Dune?
super definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And like the bad guy, like he's a good bad guy, but like also the way you know he's really disgusting is he has a fetish for young men. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
ooh,
yeah.
okay.
And he's like super fat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of bizarre.
It shows its age.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Okay, I watched a ton of things. I'm gonna break them down real quick. My forward review for Cobra Kai season 3 that came out this week. I should have written this beforehand. It's only 4 words. Much cringe, so karate. It's good. I liked it. It is it's a fucking dumb soap
I can't get
opera.
over the still image they keep showing of it, where there's this dude with the worst mohawk ever that's falling to the side, and his punch form has his thumb over his. I'm like, that's the first thing they taught me in Taekwondo as a kid was don't put your thumb there, put it here, otherwise you're gonna break your thumb.
Oh, but dude, his character goes through some shit this season. It's good shit. I have been playing Deep Rock Galactic with my brother Josh, which is
cool.
a cool game.
It's in beta right now. Is it officially
so
released?
It was in early access for about a year. It had a full release earlier this year.
Okay.
So, but it's great. It's basically this co-op game where you play dwarves who basically are just going into these procedurally generated mines and doing different tasks and fighting space bugs. And it's real fun. I'm having a really good time with it. Also, I just played a game called Call of the Sea, which is a kind of a mist feeling puzzle game that's set in the 30s where you play this woman whose husband has disappeared trying to find this cure for her illness on this island. So she goes out there and you find all this weird shit. It's it gets very Lovecraftian. The voice acting is very good. Anyways, good game. It's pretty short. I finished The Vow, which is about the NXIVM cult. Go watch it. It's great. Also, I started watching Big Love this week.
Huh.
It's weird. That's all. I have so many other things that I could talk about. I just want to talk about other stuff.
Do you got your Mitchell recommendation that you were holding off on?
Yeah. Mitchell's recommendation was for Dawson's Creek, especially season 5.
Ah, yes.
You know, the one where Dawson finally gets his creek back. Justin.
He's totally going to send you a message. Oh, man. All right. So just real quick, with Brandon Sanderson releasing Rhythm of War in November, I sat down. I think I might have mentioned this already. I can't remember, but I sat down to start reading that and realized that I had basically forgotten everything that had taken place before that. The last, I read Oathbringer when it came out, and I read it in 2 days. So I don't remember anything. So I decided I was going to start with The Way of Kings and work my way through the series and get caught up again before I read Rhythm of War. And I just finished The Way of Kings over Christmas break, just finished earlier today. And we've talked a lot about Sanderson's stuff before, but rereading it, I've read it once before and I've listened to it all the way through once before. So this is my third time through. And it's been long enough now that I remembered kind of some the main story points that happened. There was a ton of stuff that I had forgotten, and I've gotten a lot older since the last time I read it as well. I've got kids now. It's a totally different experience, and man, is the man incredible at writing. And we've gone on and on about Sanderson in the past, but if you haven't read any Sanderson, please read Sanderson. I love The Way of Kings. I love this entire series that he's working on right now. Check it out. It's so good. It's so fantastic. The guy knows how to write about everything. It feels like the emotional spectrum that he's able to cover in his books is just mind-blowing. So check it out.
Awesome. Cool. Disclaimer.
I've got a disclaimer too when you're done with yours.
Oh, after mine. You got a disclaimer for my
for the
disclaimer that I haven't even given yet?
Mine is separate.
Okay.
How
now
many
I'm so
Tyler, you need a
curious.
disclaimer as well? I might come up with one.
Yeah, I'll throw one out there. I got a disclaimer section.
Could you do a discllaimer, which is just a diss on my disclaimer?
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay. We're about to talk about video games for
Disclaimer. Fuck.
Is
you.
Mitchell here? We're about to talk about video games for the rest of the episode. So if you don't give a fuck, We'll see you next
Skip
week.
to the last
Bye.
bit. You can get
Yeah.
your music there. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The closing music.
Gwen.
Oh.
Now we're going from Tyler's disclaimer corner to Gwen's disclaimer corner.
Yeah, so going back to my recommendation, or my talking about Dune, I said that the bad guy, like, you knew the way that... The way you knew that he was a bad guy is he liked young boys. Pedophilia is not okay, So... I meant to say he
In this day and
liked
age,
men sex slaves. Sex slaves who are men.
Gwen, we should have let you go first because all the people who hate video games stopped listening already.
Justin, will you please rearrange it so our listeners know that pedophilia is not okay?
I didn't know that we could use our disclaimer corner to like retract and redo things we said in the past.
We're having a new segment
I
now.
have so many things I need to go back and explain.
Oh God.
Maybe we should just have a disclaimer episode
Yeah,
where we go through and we repent and we self-flagellate
God.
and etc.
yeah,
Flatulate?
we should do that.
Self-flatulate?
Yeah. Fart
That's
myself.
what Ozymandias did.
that's a religion I want to sign up for. Is that how I repent?
Yeah, every time the gas
Yeah.
is passed out, that's sin leaving your body.
I'm clean as shit. Okay. Okay. Now that we're in video game land,
Okay.
I do have one more recommendation that I was going to bring up earlier, but Action Button Reviews on YouTube.com. This is Tim Rogers, who used to write for Kotaku, used to do videos for Kotaku mostly. Freaking amazing. I talked about Patreons that I'm like donating to. He has a Patreon right now. It's awesome. He has almost finished his first season of reviews, which is 6 video game reviews. The first of which was a 4-hour review of the Final Fantasy VII remake, followed up by a 5-hour review of the original Doom. And then he did a review of Pac-Man.
Do a 5-hour review of the original.
You gotta watch. Here's the thing. Like, there's
I have 5 hours to talk about.
Wait. So he starts out, one of his things he starts out is he lists every time the game has been released on every platform has been released. That section for Doom is literally like 14 minutes long. Him listing every time that the original Doom has been released on a different platform.
We're talking about like officially released, not
Officially
like
released,
the meme about.
He's not like an
I got Doom to run
oscilloscope.
on my watch.
No, it's just legitimate releases.
Okay.
Anyways, it's amazing. He also reviewed The Last of Us, but he does these really long, in-depth reviews that are really insightful and also just goes on these huge tangents because he has a photographic memory. So he like has all these weird specific memories. Like he can review a game that he played 15 years ago based on his original playthrough and like the playthrough he's just done. Anyways, it's really good. He's working on one for Cyberpunk right now, which I'm very interested to see what he thinks. But he just reviewed a video game I'm never going to play called Hitateki Memorial, which is a Japanese dating simulator from 1994.
Is that why it was recommended for me today?
Maybe.
I had a recommendation on my YouTube for... It might have been his video.
It might have been his video, yeah. Anyways, it's very interesting and fascinating.
Are you logging into my YouTube?
Yeah, I'm watching from your YouTube.
Oh, great.
I watch on all the Tyler's YouTubes. Anyways, okay. A year has passed. 12 months of video games have been released. So we're going to just very briefly kind of talk about some of our favorite video games from the year. Tyler, did you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'll kick us off. I was mainly going to say my top one. I didn't think of any others.
Oh,
really.
sure, yeah. That's fine.
Because, I mean, like, obviously we talked a lot about The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
That was super memorable game. Definitely on my list of my tops of the year.
If you want to hear us talk about it, you absolutely can.
But surprisingly, I'm trying to think back. I might be missing something that I'm just forgetting which year it came out because this year was a fucking blur. I think Doom Eternal might be my game of the year.
Oh,
like
crazy.
I think that's the game I had zero negative critique about. Like I think, and I played through it like 3 times in a row. And that game is awesome. It flows really well. It looks beautiful. I love the tone of it. A lot of people don't like the tone of Eternal. They're like, oh, 2016 was where was that? And I'm like, you like different things about 2016 than I do then, because I enjoy the like really ridiculousness of that.
You enjoy the cork noise that it makes when you
Yeah.
pop out the caca.
I like that it's a little bit more cartoony, but still terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the mechanics of that. I can't go back to 2016 because I need the dash, I need like the grapple hook, I need all that things that just make it go faster, and I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah. Gotta go fast. You like Sonic?
Yeah,
Sonic game of 2020. Great.
that movie come out in 2020?
Yeah, it did.
Oh wow.
I think. Did it come out like February?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's what caused this whole thing.
Someone ate a hedgehog.
A lot of Olive Garden references in that movie. I saw that movie.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have more than one Olive Garden reference in that movie?
You sure fucking do.
Wow.
I mean, once you start, you really can't stop talking about Olive Garden's delicious
Isn't that
salads.
Pringles that you're talking about now?
Oh yeah, that's right. And Pringles.
Once you start, you can't,
I love
once you
both those
pop,
things.
you can't. Yeah, anyways.
Man, okay, so I was trying to think about this. Like, Last of Us 2 also, obviously, if you've listened to us talk about it at all, very high on my list. I'm really having a hard time narrowing down between these two games, but the games I'm thinking about are Hades and Kentucky Route Zero. Which, have either of you played Kentucky Route Zero?
I don't think I've ever even heard of that.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of it, but it's like an isometric view, right?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sort of. It's. I mean, it's kind of a more classic point and click. It's a lot of side view. There's times where it's isometric. It's a game that has been in development for the last 7 or 8 years, and it's released episodically. So I think the first one came out in 2015 or 14. I don't remember, but the final episode was released earlier this year. And I had played through the first episode a long time ago. Decided I just wasn't going to play anymore until it was all out. But it's really good. I don't want to say too much about it other than it's a point and click adventure that has some really gorgeous art design and like writing in it. And especially I think especially after the first chapter. The first chapter is a little slow playing through it again, but after that it's just so weird. It's set in this very like surreal, fantastic version of middle like America, and basically the beginning, the whole like leaping off point for the game is that you're driving this truck. You're trying to get to, you're trying to make this delivery, and you're trying to find Kentucky Route Zero, and it's really fantastic. So check that out. And then Hades, if you're on the internet, you've seen people talking about Hades. Hades fucking rules. It's super fun. The gameplay loop is super rewarding. There's like more writing in that video game than should ever exist in any video game. All voiced dialogue too, which is just fucking insane. But it's gorgeous. It's cool. It's fucking Greek mythology and just really rewarding and fun gameplay. If you like Diablo or Dead Cells, you will like Hades. And if you like looking at just meaty, sexy versions of Greek gods and goddesses,
Who doesn't?
you will love this game. But yeah, those are my 2 recommendations for this year. Also, Final Fantasy VII Remake, because fuck you. It's so nostalgic. I fucking loved it. I'm going to play it again. Fuck you. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much to add to this because I was going to mention Doom Eternal as well. So I guess something to add. The one critique I have heard about Doom Eternal that I understand and I think I agree with is the attempt at like the lore around Doom Guy and his story and like this bigger picture stuff that's going on is a little convoluted. It feels like one of the cool things about Doom 2016 is you wake up, you're brought back to life. I don't know exactly what happens. That's the kind of the point is you are brought out of this thing, you punch a computer screen and you shoot demons. And the only thing like there's like hints at the lore throughout the game. Doom 2016, you learn that the Doom Slayer is literally like the devil in the demon's mythology or whatever, which is so badass. And then like the thing about Doom Eternal is there's like, oh, you get all this backstory stuff, like the you like learn more about who Doom Guy is, and like I can see how people sort of like push back against that when it like comparing it to Doom 2016. I can understand that. I don't know if I completely agree with it because the story aspects of Doom Eternal are so much fun to me, like going through all those different locations and like just moving from like I still don't really care about the story. Like I'm having so much fun shooting demons and aliens and just blowing shit up. Like I didn't really have time to stop and think about what was actually happening.
Yeah.
So I can see that point of view, and like I recognize it. Like, okay, yeah, that makes sense as to why somebody would like Doom 2016 against Doom Eternal. But Doom Eternal was definitely one of the funnest times I had playing video games this past year. I am going to bring it up one final time. Playing the raid in Destiny is seriously the funnest thing that I have ever done in a video game, and I'm going to stand by that for quite a while. I think like the way that I experienced Destiny was the perfect way to do it. I haven't been playing consistently for years. I dropped right into it. I grinded for a month and a half. Did it. I haven't played very much at all in the last couple weeks. Like I've been busy. Don't really feel like, I mean, there's the poll to go back and I'll probably do like weekly activities and stuff, but like it was just like just that small, or not small, but that experience was self-contained and wonderful. And if you get a chance to do anything like that, you've got to take it because it was a blast. And then just one final shout out for The Last of Us. There's so much to it, and the fact that I played it and then I played it again with Gwen, which is something like we've played games together, but we've never done anything like that. And like that is going to be a memory that I keep for forever as well. Going through The Last of Us 2, discussing it with you guys, discussing it with Gwen, like we're going to be talking about it for years probably as it keeps coming up. Who knows what they're going to do with the IP in the future? But yeah, I think those three are probably the top experiences that I had this year. Minecraft was really good too this year. Just want to say that game is never going to die. I hope it never dies.
If we were able to give Minecraft Game of the Year every year, people would stop making video games.
Yeah.
Gwen,
I don't know.
did you
Have you had a 4-year-old follow you around in Minecraft for hours? Because
No, I have not.
Mom,
I would be very concerned
Mom,
if I
can
did.
I have that iron? Mom, Mom, where are you? I'm coming.
Mom, can I have that iron? Every
really,
child's greatest desire.
We'd go down into the mine shaft, and I'd, hack away at the blocks. And then the minute anything popped up, can I have that diamond?
That's amazing. Did you have any other? I know that you've been playing some games lately. Do you have any other like game thoughts you wanted to share, Gwen? Anything that's you've been having fun with?
I think I played Oxenfree with Truman, and
okay.
I played Inside with Truman, and then I played Minecraft and The Last of Us.
Cool.
So
That was a good gaming year.
a thumbs up
Yeah.
on all of that, I guess.
Oxenfree is great, especially if you have the time to do like 4 playthroughs.
Yeah,
4
I've only
playthroughs.
done one, but
Yeah.
it was
Shit
fun.
gets wild.
Yeah, it was scary, man.
It is. It's a like. Yeah. I'm with you. That's a fun game. Well, we'll be back for one more week of the Watchmen, and then question mark after that. Will we still be here doing a podcast? Will we be replaced by a different cast of 4 people who are going to be reviewing cooking YouTube channels? Who knows? You can in 2 weeks. Fuck it. We'll see you next week. You've been here with me, Tyler Harris, and
Gwen Hammer.
Tyler McKinley.
Justin Hammer.
Spooky.